May 4th and 5th, it's Buzz, Sun, and Sound on the 100X stage in the Beer Garden at the Town Festival with Baltimore's best rock, the new 100X.
You may have already read in the newspaper that WGRX will soon be changing format. 98 Rock, Baltimore's rock station, would like to invite listeners of the X over to our place. This is 98 Rock music.
This is a scoped air check from the last few moments of WGRX, which was an eclectic rock station on 100.7 out of Westminster, Maryland for Baltimore. I don't know the exact year of this. I can look it up, but I'm too effing lazy.
Time ticks by.
Check out 98 Rock at 97.9 FM. Baltimore's 98 Rock welcomes 100X listeners.
Now's a wonderful time to buy.
We were getting high.
100X. Baltimore's best rock.
Ooh, my little chicken.
The new 100X.
Just sit up yours, baby.
Good song. I like this one. Wow.
WGRX, Westminster, Baltimore.
This is the flagship station of the Polyester Broadcast Group. Polyester 101.
Of course, WGRX flipped to Polyester 101. Then they had Divine on for many years as the morning talent from John Waters movies. And they became the top station in Baltimore for a long time. WPLY Polyester 101. That actually was a stunt. WGRX was stunting. Eventually became classic rock. WZBA the Bay, but GRX was a cool radio station while it was around, and I always liked listening to it. I used to be able to get it better down here in Northern Virginia. I think they changed their antenna around to better serve the core Baltimore market and cut the signal down into Northern Virginia, so it's harder to get today. Anyhow, just wanted to make a quick comment about some Fred Grandy stuff. We had a little more yesterday about Fred Grandy coming. He apparently gave a comment to a righty website saying that it was indeed the reason why he left WMAL was because his wife was not allowed to be on the air anymore. Management apparently told Fred, we don't want your wife on the show anymore. Mrs. Fred has the right to say whatever she wants to say. I mean, she's freedom of speech. This is America. WMAL also has the right to say, hey, we're a radio station and we want to put on what we want to put on. You know, we have certain point of view, we have certain talent, whatever. And they can tell a talent, we don't want you saying that, we don't want you saying that. That's not violating anyone's freedom of speech. That's simply the rules of the road. I mean, a store, you know, if you work in Target, you can't wear a, I'm a commie t-shirt. You know, they won't let you do that. You don't have the freedom of expression to do that. If you work at a radio station, you have to play by their rules or they fire you. You can't get on the air and say whatever the heck you want. You know, there were some WTOPers commenting to me yesterday that, hey, Cal Thomas, a commentator many years ago, said something that was perceived to be anti-Islamic. And there was a bunch of Islamic groups in Washington that tried to get him fired. And WTOP said, no, we don't necessarily agree with what Cal said, but we stand by his right to say it. Cal Thomas is a professional journalist. He knows what he's doing, and he goes within the lines. Mrs. Fred, on the other hand, if you listen to Mrs. Fred, a lot of people are criticizing WMAL's move here. They never listen to Mrs. Fred. If you listen to Mrs. Fred, she was saying stuff like Barack Obama is a Muslim and he's trying to actively make this country a Muslim country. I just think that's a little bit crazy. But, for WMAL's point of view, they did let Mrs. Fred on every Friday for an hour with her husband to say that stuff and say it and say it and say it again. And I think they got to a point where they just said, okay, Mrs. Fred, you've said your stuff. It's time to move on. Fred, no more Mrs. Fred. And Mr. Fred said, no, if I can't have my wife on to rant and rage about, radical Islam all the time, I'm going to. So they're gone. Okay, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. If you listen to WMAL today, you listen to Chris Plant, you listen to Rush Limbaugh, you listen to Sean Hannity, you listen to Mark Levin, they're ranting a lot about, anti-Muslim stuff. But it's not they're not saying that our president is a Muslim and he's trying to, make our country a Muslim country. Not quite in those words like that. And I can understand WMAL saying, hey, this is enough of this. And Mrs. Fred isn't even an employee of the radio station. So I think Fred Grandy's gone, and I honestly think that's probably a good thing for Fred Grandy, and it's probably a good thing for WMAL. Go let Fred do his thing. I enjoyed Fred on the air for all these years on WMAL, but I think, I think he's washed up. I think his career in radio's over, and it's kind of a sad, wimpy little wave to go out on like this, but, hey, what the heck. WMAL let Andy Parks go back in last spring, and they're a 20-year veteran of the station, and they just kind of pulled the plug and ushered him out the door with no farewell or anything. That was a stinky way to go. And, hey, Fred's engineering his own stinky way to go. You see this a lot in radio. They, radio personalities, big fat egos, pompous asses, and then they just get the ass kicked out the door. So Fred deserves it, I think. And that's the radio biz. Don't like it? Go sell shoes. Okay, folks, a couple of G's today from the Dave record collection. Peter Gabriel, who I like. Never liked Genesis much, but I do like Peter Gabriel. And, of course, the masterful Garbage. Always loved Happy When It Rains. I'm Only Happy When It Rains. Brilliant song. Anyhow, that's Dave TV for today. Saturday, the 5th of March. Have a good one, and don't forget to stay tuned.